You're about to listen to the Timey-Wimey Tea Time Podcast, a geekyantics.net and allgames.com production. Find out what everyone's talking about. The Doctor, of course. Doctor Who? Exactly, that Doctor. Join us live at www.twitch.tv/geekyantics. That's GEEKYANTICS. Hang out with us, ask questions, laugh, and have at it. We can't wait to hear what's on your minds and hearts.
Timey-Wimey Tea Time. Me gusta.
Greetings and welcome to Timey-Wimey Tea Time, where friends gather to talk about all things Doctor Who, sci-fi, fantasy, zombies, creative writing, and sometimes anime. Just about all assorted flavors of geekdom. I am Yomar Lopez, the artist formerly known as Yogizilla, and today we are joined once again by Stan the Man Faryna, the voice that woos man and woman alike, and the purveyor of poetic beauty for the TWTT crew. What's going on, bro?
I'm good. I'm excited. We're going to get it right this time.
Well, we didn't say, apparently the all game stream sounded fine, but the Twitch stream, not so much. So we are redoing episode 4. We will not be talking about episode 4 in the series, of series 8. We'll be talking about episode 3, Robot of Sherwood. Singular. That's important. We'll come back to that. Keep it in your back pocket. But for those of you that are joining us for the first time, just a quick little introduction to what we do. We are primarily a Doctor Who podcast, as we mentioned already. But we get into a little bit of everything. Introductions. So I am the founder of the Geeky Ants Network. We collaborate with All Games. Effectively next week, the official premiere, allgames.com. That's the All Games Radio Network. This is a Geeky Antics produced show. And my co-pilot and the voice of reason is a former IAB, European National Director, and a current sci-fi novelist, part-time troll, and a lovely fellow. Very generous, big heart. He's been giving me a heart. I think he's sleep deprived because he's been in rare form tonight. I was scared to do take 2 of this show at this hour. He's giggly like a little schoolgirl, and his face is turning red. He's turning to an apple. I think he's gonna turn to instead of turning to a pumpkin at midnight, he's gonna turn to an apple. That's what's gonna happen. So we did get to see episode 4. Very quick thoughts, spoiler free. Stan, loved it or hated it?
Loved or hated what?
And that says everything.
Hey, King Dean is in the Twitch chat with us, so he's keeping us sane.
Yes, and this, I will point out that it is currently 11:20 p.m. here on the East Coast, which in UK, London, would be around 4:20. They're 5 hours ahead of us. So we're not having tea time, we're having coffee time. But tea time, you can bring coffee, you can bring tea, or beverage of your choice. That's how we do it. But anyway, episode 4, series 8. I liked it. If for no other reason, because they finally gave Danny Pink more purpose. So now I didn't feel like they shoehorned him into one episode and then left it alone. They didn't just dangle that fruit, and they actually gave that they gave it some more substance. So there's kind of this theme. I don't want to spoil it too much. I did say it was to be spoiler free, but there's kind of this theme of impossible people and time paradoxes, and um, because of these things that happen out of sequence, there's misunderstandings. Um, and a major theme is that the Doctor is fearful. He's a broken man, a broken alien. So very interesting. But anyway, let's move on here before we get deeper into Doctor Who. We're gonna start off with some comments, a little bit of housekeeping. The housekeeping will share some announcements and some of the events of the day. So as we mentioned, we did have some issues with our original broadcast. So our YouTube video, it was broken up to 3 parts. The first part is pretty much a throwaway. You could barely hear us. The second part is a little better, but it's bad echo. Third part is much better, but it's still echo. So I may retag the second half and the post show, and just make those into lost episodes, lost tapes, just for giggles. That might confuse some people, but I don't want it to be completely wasted. But
Delete.
Oh boy,
Delete.
there you go. We have a Dalek in the room. But we are definitely going to get this up as the official episode 4 on the audio podcast feeds, which are in Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, iTunes, Zune, all that good stuff. And it will be also on allgames.com, as well as, of course, the main hub, geekyantics.net. So, oh, no, we're having some Spanish suggestions. I will not be changing the me gusta to "Allá, que lo que." We don't really have that many Dominican listeners, and I can't think of a single Dominican person I know that likes Doctor Who. No offense to anyone, but I think one Spanish demographic is not really well represented. I know Puerto Ricans that listen to Doctor Who, Cubans, Mexicans that like Doctor Who, right? The opera singer.
There's an opera singer on Twitter that loves Doctor Who.
And she's a really cool person. Lots of Latin love, Spanish representation in the Doctor Who community, so that's awesome. But we are streaming, by the way. We are streaming live from Stan's War Room with a View. We're somewhere in the Virginia, D.C. area. And that's all we're saying is Stan doesn't really like the paparazzis. They scare him. He'll throw some of his fresh-grown fruit and vegetables from his garden at you. Word of warning. I mean, we're going to do the basement. The acoustics probably would have been a little more tolerable. But, the spiders down there, that's a little scary. So, here we are. This is a makeshift studio. We did a lot of testing, but, of course, whenever we go live, something goes wrong. And Stan, of course, gets ADD and has to move everything around and start clicking on stuff. Thanks, Stan.
That's the solution. Click it.
Click it. Or smack it.
Or smack it.
By the way, for those that were asking how you can listen to us live, henceforth, going forward, so don't think about this anomaly called September the 13th. And it figures it's an unlucky number. Saturday, September 13th. May we forget. There's some people say, September 11th, never forget. And I don't want to make a joke out of that. That's a very serious thing. But September 13th, please forget. At least the earlier stuff. So next week, September 20th, that's a Saturday, as always, at noon, we will be live on allgames.com and twitch.tv/geekyantics. And for those of you that have been having issues with Twitch, we feel your pain. It's a terrible UX, we know. Do not sign up with Facebook. Sign up with your email and your password, and that's been working for folks. In fact, Claudia joined us today, but she had that time, the schedule mixed up, which is understandable. We did have to make it earlier because we did have prior engagements, and those got canceled, which worked out better because we got to be a lot more productive. And we got to geek out on Doctor Who.
And we got to redo.
But after this, I got to do the sound production and pack up for the road trip ahead. And I'm going to be sad. I'm going to miss Stan. even though he trolls me really hard. But yeah, Google Hangouts. I don't really like them for podcasting unless we just do something fun, like a bonus episode. With Google Hangouts, it's like a whole different beast. And Google, it likes to be mutually exclusive. So Google Hangout by itself, no problem. You start doing it with Twitch, it's like, oh no, 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 that's not happening. And now, especially, that's going to be especially so now that Amazon owns Twitch, not Google. Scandalous, scandalous.
We can do bonuses,
Yeah,
bonus episodes on
Google Hangout.
Hangout.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's still the plan.
I like that.
But week to week, Skype is easier.
And if we record it internally, we can still post it to YouTube.
Yeah, the good thing about Hangout is that it lets you do the Google Hangouts on air and it goes straight to YouTube. But that means we have to manage the YouTube Q&A unless we close it off, and then we have to manage the Twitch chat and the All Games chat. Well, if it's a bonus episode, it won't be on the regular time, so All Games wouldn't matter.
Right.
So that wouldn't be too bad, but still, there's a lot of logistics involved. There's a lot more stuff involved with podcasting than people realize. That's okay. We understand. Not everybody has a technical background. It's fine. We appreciate people that are pure listeners. We need those. Because sadly, a lot of people that I know that listen to our podcast on Geeky Answers Network and All Games, they're fellow podcasters. So it's kind of a conflict of interest to an extent. It's like, well, I'm busy doing my stuff, and I can't be in consumption mode that long. We talked about this before, Stan.
Oh, yeah.
As a writer, as a creative of any sort, supporting other content is hard because you got to be productive. But anyway, so this was technically our first week on allgames.com just to test it out. And it's a good thing we did have a test run and it wasn't officially pushed out. And it also gave us more time to promote the real premiere, the official premiere. So September 20th, mark that on your calendar, official allgames.com premiere. We'll still be on geekyantics.net, which you can watch the video on there. But yeah, ideally, we love people to sign up on Twitch and join that chat, as well as the chat on allgames.com. Just click on live chat, and boom. Then it's candy going into your ears, as Stan likes to say. There were also some site issues with our website. As we're gaining popularity, gaining traction.
Yeah. It's a great thing, but
yeah, it's a great thing because it means, we're becoming relevant. But with that, we're getting lots of spam comments, and people started DDoSing us, trying to hack source. So we're going to be moving servers soon, and we're hardening security, so stand by. Make sure you leave some comments because your account can be deleted if there are no comments attached to it. We're going through some serious database scrubbing, and one of the red flags is, hey, this person's been signed up for 30 days and no comments? 60 days and no comments? Really? You couldn't have spared 2 minutes in 60 days? So leave the comment, love. For one reason or another, it's important. Important to us.
we like to hear comments.
Yeah.
Feedback is good.
Yeah, we get tons of feedback on YouTube. Why not get some of that love right on the other stuff, on geekyantics.net, on iTunes, leave a review, leave a Facebook comment on Stitcher. Tons of ways to connect with us. So yeah, leave the comment love on geekyantics.net, please. Not just for our show hosts, but for all our writers. All right, so what else we have? Oh yeah, speaking of which, this is a very important thing to know. This is a very G-rated, borderline PG-rated. It's PG at times, but we try to keep it as clean as possible. We understand we have a very diverse audience. The Whovian community. The Whovian community is very diverse.
Yes, it is.
And we're seeing that within the TWTT community. So we're going to keep it as clean as possible, but we do welcome you to check out our other shows. Just keep an open mind. Some of the shows are not safe for work or borderline possibly offensive to some.
Which shows are that?
Yes, if you get easily offended, I probably would avoid Horseplay Live, which is one of my other shows, and I do that with OB1X2. That's pretty much our official talk radio show, our interactive geek experience. especially for the night owls out there. That's the radio show 4 Hour Network, Geeky Antics, for the gang. But we get a little wild and crazy, and we go off on rants pretty hard. It's a different kind of going deep. It's more like going crazy. Then Gaming Death Podcast, they talk a lot about phallic symbols and other shenanigans. And sometimes they talk about video games too. Excellent podcast. I'm a full supporter of them, not just because they chose our network, and I consider all of them friends. But there are times where it'll make you kind of shake your head or face palm a little bit. So please do not be critical of them. Give them a chance. If you give them a chance, they'll grow on you. I promise. So during our last tea time, we credited Stephen Moffat, or as Stan likes to say, Stephen Muppet, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
We credited him for the death in episode 2, Into the Dalek. But it's worth noting that Phil Ford contributed as a writer there. I think he was the head writer on that particular story. Now, Ford also wrote the Waters of Mars episode, which is co-written by Russell T Davies, who's no longer on the show because he's got his own things going on. And many fans, many Whovians consider, or Hoovers, if you're in Canada, consider Waters of Mars to be one of the best episodes in the David Tennant era. And Nick's trolling us in the chat now. But we've been watching Series 3 with David Tennant.
Right.
We're doing that as part of our Geek Out session.
Can I make a comment?
Go ahead.
So we've been watching Series 3.
Uh-oh, I know where this is going already. Go ahead.
And the episodes are great. Every one of them is great. Which makes me think, so we've seen 3 episodes of, actually 4 now, of episode 8, and they do not compare to the episodes in Series 3. What's up with that?
But wouldn't it be the other way around? Series 8 does not compare?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Because Series 3...
Series 8 doesn't compare with Series 3.
Yeah.
I mean, there was an episode where Yomar and I were like holding back the tears, like, I didn't want to move my face just in case a tear slipped out, and he saw, and he was like, his glasses were steaming up. None of that for Series 8. None of it.
And it's definitely, and I don't get when I tell people, I say Tennant was the tragic doctor. He was the sentimental doctor, the emotionally burdened doctor. He was on the cusp of the whole Rose story arc. Rose Tyler. He had a lot of loss, short-lived relationships, and he kind of started closing himself off to that stuff. And this tragic relationship after tragic relationship, as much as he tried to avoid it, Donna basically fell on his lap during the Christmas episode. And she was like, What? It was great. But, those are some tearjerker episodes. And not a single throwaway episode. They build up to a greater conflict, a greater revelation. But there's not this feeling of, okay, where are you going with this? Because it's episodically delicious.
Yeah. Nick was mentioning Rose, and I wanted to say it was hilarious hilarious is the wrong word, but the way Donna keeps pushing the Rose button is awesome.
Oh, gosh. She was trolling him.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. And she was, she's an emotional roller coaster herself, so that makes her quite entertaining to watch. We might, who knows, if we can't sleep tonight at this rate, we might end up watching some more of that, finishing off that. And this is a series, by the way, spoilers. Oh, it's been 5 years, so I hope you had a chance to watch Series 3 of Doctor Who, the new series. This is the Master, where the Master comes back. And it's funny, unlike Series 8, they're not really hinting that something bigger is coming. They're not hinting really hard that the Master's coming. Exactly. But you get this kind of sense. But they're not shoving it down your throat, but you get a sense that there's something bigger on the way.
Right.
It's very beautifully done. But anyway, we talked about Into the Dalek. We talked about Aristotle and then the philosophical themes there. It was interesting. It was the first time we saw Aristotle in any capacity in Doctor Who. That's if you don't include the audiobooks, comics, and everything else. Pretty much if you just focus on the TV series. Uh, it was the first time we saw him. And it's interesting, less than one third of his works survived. So you could say his works are incomplete. And Stan will love this. His works are incomplete, much like our current Doctor.
Yes, it is.
Is that they're broken. They're
We
missing
have a
something.
broken doctor.
Yes, Series 3, Sound of the Drums, exactly. Um, but another fun fact is worth noting in Episode 2, Into the Dalek, is that Russell T Davies is referred to as Rusty. That's his nickname. And this could very well be a nod to the fact that Davies may come back for a future Doctor Who project. It might be interesting having him come back as just a writer, not an executive producer, maybe a co-producer. It could change the dynamic quite a bit. Because we saw, again, Series 3, we saw when Moffat was writing episodes and Russell T Davies was the showrunner, Moffat was able to focus on the writing and he went deeper and they were really well done, really fleshed out episodes. Blink! How good was that episode?
Yeah, that was great.
Amazing. And you barely saw the Doctor
And
and his
the
companion.
concept of the doctor using video, that was cool.
Mm.
People, the sadness, people being sent back in time. That was awesome. That was Muppet. So he's capable of more.
And you made a good point too, by the way. You said earlier, what were you saying about him possibly
His
being?
attention is divided
Mm.
because all of his work on Sherlock, which is a hit right now,
Mm-hmm.
maybe just not giving his full attention to the doctor.
I would hope that he realizes that as great as Sherlock is, I take nothing away from that show. I enjoy it quite a bit. But I would hope he realizes that Doctor Who is the bread and butter of the BBC network.
It's the soul of the BBC.
Yeah, it is. And in episode 3, which we're about to get into, Robot of Sherwood, Mark Gatiss was the head writer there, I believe. And Moffat didn't seem to have much to do with that episode. You can kind of tell. So hopefully he'll do more of that, separate himself from the writing and get competent people writing storylines. Because there's other people that wrote for Series 3 that did beautiful stories. I think Gridlock was not written by Moffat or Russell T Davies, and it was a great episode.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. Neil Gaiman, how about we get Neil Gaiman back?
Yeah.
Nightmares in Silver. Not a Series 3 episode, but still a great episode. So I think if Moffat could focus more on the creative direction, producing the shows, directing, I think that'd be wonderful. And let someone else do the writing. It does feel like he's a little spread thin. And he might be overreaching at times. Now, Stan, we usually do this thing that we talk about what's Doctor Who or Who's Who. This is our Who's Who unofficial segment. Let's just tell folks. Well, I'll start it off for you. All right. Unless you want to start it off this time, we'll switch it up.
All right. So, Who's Who? Doctor Who is a 50-year plus BBC sci-fi TV series. It's about a funny little man that travels all of time and space. Most of the time, he takes someone or some people along for the adventure. They're called companions. The Doctor, that's his name, or his title. Maybe we don't really know his name. Anyway, he's worn more than a few faces, but regardless of the face or the accessories, scarf, bow tie, red fez, the Doctor remains the same lovable and intelligent alien man traveling about in an old British police call box. The blue box, that's the TARDIS. It's a spaceship, a time machine, and almost a world unto itself. It's bigger on the inside. So, why should you watch Doctor Who? Because cool people watch Doctor Who.
Absolutely. Especially if you hear, if, you guys will hear later on some voicemail messages we have. There's some very cool Whovians out there. They're way
They
cooler than
are.
us. They set the bar way too high for us. Hard to follow that up, too.
Yeah. They inspire us, though.
Yes, absolutely. Now, we can go deeper on what we love about Doctor Who, but suffice to say, 50 plus years of content created in different, across all kinds of media, told by different people, and a lot of stuff that's in this canon. It's just there's so much depth there, so many wonderful stories that intrigue us, get us to imagine things. And I think it really does capture the hopes that we have as human beings for a better world.
Exactly.
And the Doctor also, he has, he has that kind of innocence. He sees the world through a child's eyes. And I have a poem later on, towards the end of the show, I'll share, that I feel captures what Doctor Who is. But he has that intrigue, that innocence where everything is beautiful to him, and he pursues that beauty. That's why, a lot of times it feels like his adventures have no purpose. Like it's almost serendipitous that he ends up somewhere. But there is purpose because he's seeking that beauty. And in a way, he also has his own problems, his own conflicts, his inner turmoil for one reason or another that he's always dealing with. He's a bit of a lonely character, a tragic hero perhaps. And his escapes are a way to kind of deal with that. I think we could all relate to that to some degree. It's a very human story, even though he's an alien.
Exactly.
But we do want to get into some early comments before we go into more Doctor Who talk. I'm going to backpedal a little bit here. Bert JT writes, and this is all from our YouTube. He says, perhaps others will be heroes in our name. Perhaps we will both be stories, and may those stories never end. Now that's a quote from Robin Hood, the Robin Hood, from episode 3.
Yes.
Robot of Sherwood. Now, I do want to note that we said that Robin Hood, previously we had said that Robin Hood is a big part of the UK's history. And that's true to an extent. But, we should note that he's considered by many experts to be a fictional character, loosely, very loosely based upon real people or a real person. So the fact that Robin Hood says this, we will both be stories. They talked about fake stories as well. That was another quote. And then there was this notion of almost a dismissiveness towards heroes, as if
I didn't like it.
Yeah, I know, but I think there's a purpose to it. So stories, but just what's real there? Are they trying to tell us that all of this is just a story and we're gonna wake up and find out it's a dream, or are they some kind of virtual reality? There's a lot of things that we can start speculating at this point. But I think, regardless of how you feel about what this quote is setting up, it's a beautiful quote in itself. May those stories never end. As fans, wow, that's awesome. I don't want Doctor Who to ever end. I don't know where my world would be without Doctor Who, because most of the other TV out there is junk.
Right.
What do you think about this quote?
Yeah. At first hearing, it sounded like Robin Hood said something important, something epic. And like you said, it sounds wonderful. Almost like on the level of Shakespeare. But what good are never-ending stories if they never inspire us, if they don't inspire dreams, hope, justice, the beautiful, the good, or the true? That's something I'm wondering as I watch Series 8. It's like, where are these stories going? Are they going to help us? Are they going to help us to live better lives?
And I think we agreed along with the community as well, that science fiction serves more of a role as kind of a servant role, let's say, to society. It mirrors things from the real world in a way that's relatable, almost borderline fantasy, but still grounded enough for us to deal with those real world issues that we have today, and years from now, decades from now, maybe even centuries from now. Whereas fantasy is more of an escapism generally. That's one of the key distinctions. And I think Doctor Who does a phenomenal job of serving that duty. Right now, it's falling a little short, admittedly, but it'll get there. Now, next comment here. Carol Carol writes, "What is a good father?" And this is a loaded question, and we've toiled with this quite a bit. I feel that you have to go beyond the traditional bare minimum definition of a father. Though there are plenty of fathers that set the bar very low. There's fathers that do not provide for their families and are not there emotionally or physically or in any capacity, and they're just scrubs. But a good father has to go beyond just bringing home the bread and butter, paying the bills. Um, I feel like there needs to be. It's good to have that tough love to a degree. It's important to have fathers that are good role models, not just to their families, but to society, so others can follow suit with that. So we talk about Doctor Who being a paternal figure, and we know that it could get there. We've seen hints of it before when Matt Smith cared for his roommate and was feeding him tea, and he was sick in bed. It was very sweet, and we saw a much more humanized Doctor. We got a glimpse of that again in Series 3 when we just rewatched this. That's what's in our minds. Let's talk about that. You know, Doctor Who. I mean, he's really not really called Doctor Who. The Doctor. My apologies. I don't want to make anyone cringe. But his title is not Doctor Who. That's just the show title, folks. So the Doctor gave up his Time Lord status. He became a human, 100% human. It was brief, but it was long enough that we got to see a glimpse of what that would look like if he didn't have that emotional burden, the regrets, thousands of years of pain and struggle. He's seen a lot. How can you not be troubled by that, right?
Right.
Um, so talking about that, father, we saw what his life could have been like if he just lived a normal human life. He has it in him. He has that love. He has the compassion. He loves humankind, which apparently is not very common amongst Time Lords or Daleks. They're as much as they're opposites, they share that in common. They're not really keen on humans usually. There are some one-offs. So he could be a good father. Now, what does that mean? What does it mean to you, Stan? I'm rambling over here.
Well, first I wanted to say that the reason why we're talking about the Good Father theme is because it actually came up in the comments of YouTube. Several people um, kind of, I don't know, dreamed, hoped that maybe the 12th Doctor can be something more than the fool that he is right now. And some of them speculated, hey, it would be great if he could be a father figure. And of course, and this leads to our question of what is a good father. Now, it's really interesting personally for me and Yomar because we have doubts about our own fathers.
Do we?
And I'm being very kind.
Yes.
Because in some way we should honor them. But we're unhappy with our experience of fathers. So this touches deep into our hearts. For me, and I'm not a very good father because I have a son in Romania, and he's 9, and I'm not in his life. I'm not a part of his life. I'm not really permitted to be a part of his life, but we won't get into that. But as I think about what would it mean for me to be a good father? I think that if I could instruct my son in goodness, truth, and virtue, that would be the essence of what would be good. Um, because somehow we have to give them an inheritance, not of money necessarily, um, but an inheritance that overflows with life, love, and yes, self discipline.
I'm 100% with that. Now I will amend that and say that there are lots of mothers that take on a paternal role, and we realize that that's a lot more common than some may admit because there are a lot of scrub dads out there. A good father or a good paternal figure is not someone who still thinks about himself, who somehow tries to
Only about
live,
himself. Yeah.
yeah, only about himself. And because you got to think about yourself to a degree. Everybody's selfish to a certain degree, and that's important because otherwise you'll never get any joy out of life. You'll be miserable, and
Right.
you'll share that misery with other people.
Everyone has a right to be joyful, but not always pursue personal joy. Because sometimes, not just sometimes, you have to care about others and you have to love them as you love yourself.
Right. And what else, what else can you model your love after than your love for yourself? Or if you're a believer, love for God, or whoever your God may be. I'm not going to get religious on you guys, but you have to have some model, some high level model for that love. And it usually starts with you.
Yeah.
Now, there are parents, and this is what I was getting into, there are parents that try to live that single life. They forget their parents and
Yeah.
they try to just live frivolously. The kids are kind of an add-on, like a value added. Whenever it's convenient, they acknowledge them and they show them off. But when it's inconvenient, they try to put them up on a shelf. And there's so many of these autopilot parents. We've talked about this. Autopilot parents.
Yeah.
Terrible. Parents that they don't want to deal with the daily struggles, the things that the kids need. The kids need a lot of attention. And if they don't get it, they're going to go to the wrong places for it.
There's consequences for autopilot parenthood. Um, we see that in actually the increase of suicides among the young.
Mhm.
We see that in, I mean, the search for identity has become such a big deal, and that's because somehow without parents, kids get lost and they don't know where to go, or who to be, or who they are.
Yeah. And more than ever, we can't rely on society to do that upbringing for us. Because
Yeah, what's that?
teachers are so bitter now. Like I'm not saying every teacher. There's some teachers out there that still take great pride in their work and really see the responsibility they have to the world, not just for the sake of their job. They see there's a greater role there, and they don't have that servant leader spirit. And parents need to have that kind of spirit as well to be successful. I feel, and because of this, kids turn to reality television or they adulterate
Which
social
is not
media,
reality.
which is not reality. They have a very twisted view of reality because of it. And, turn to porn, which reality
Right.
television is pretty much porn for your brain. It's bad. I'm saying in small doses, it's all right, but excessiveness, bad. Um, but I have such a thing with parents that keep their kids in front of a DVD player or in front of the cable box, watching whatever or playing Netflix all day. I understand you get busy, but if that's all you do, that's the only quality time. And again, back to fatherhood. It's not just the mother's role to be the emotional support and the nurturing force in
Right.
the relationship. The fathers need to be there too, provide that emotional support, be that rock. And being a rock doesn't mean being tough and uncaring. That's a big misconception. but that father needs to come in there and provide those reassurances, security. You know, that's a man's role. That's a very. I'm not saying that's only the man's role, but you know, when you're looking generally traditional gender roles to modern days, the man, you know, and it's been like that for a long time. The man is supposed to provide that security in his relationship with his significant other and with for his kids. I feel I'm traditional in that sense. I think that's very important. Security, you know, because if your kids don't have that, what do they turn to? A blanket, and then that blanket becomes something else. It eventually can become a drug problem.
Right.
That's a escalation. You know, it's scary. Things can devolve very quickly, snowball very very quickly. They're
Yes.
not. You got to be there. Be emotionally there.
I mean, way too many people have low self-esteem. This is increasing. This is not decreasing. Even if we try to apply these silly techniques of bolstering egos for nothing, um, I think that's for lack of family,
Yeah.
because if they don't have a foundation of security and love and strength in the family, yeah, they need props for everything, meaningless props, but it still doesn't fill the emptiness.
And there's a constant yearning that's never filled. They try to fill it. People in general, not just kids, try to fill it with the wrong things, and then it just breeds worse and worse habits. They feel worse and worse, but they get that temporary, instant gratification, that fleeting gratification.
Which covers them for this minute,
Yep.
but it doesn't help build them to be persons that can negotiate with the world and maybe change it.
Mm. We need more people like that, more leaders, more selfless
Yes.
souls. And you know, bringing it all back together, we've already discussed that the world has forgotten how to dream. Dreams today are material things. They're not moments, they're not stories, they're not legacies, they're not
No.
legends. People don't think about that. They think in terms of material things. My dream is to have a house that's this big. My dream is to drive this car. But if those
Yes.
dreams do not make you cry, they do not stir up something in you fundamentally good, they're worthless. And you just become a cliche. It's a terrible story.
Exactly.
And bringing back Doctor Who, we really want to see that doctor that has a purpose, value driven life. And he could be that doctor. I still see the potential there. Let's move on with one last YouTube comment for now. This one is in Spanish. I'll try my best to translate it properly. Nicholas White Nicholas White writes, Episodio 3 es el mejor episodio de Timey-Wimey Tea Time. Y me gustaría decirles por qué. Usted le dio una explicación reflexiva del Doctor Series 8 y el episodio 2, Into the Dalek. Honestamente, yo había visto el Into the Dalek la semana pasada y no me gustó tanto. Pero entonces vi el episodio de nuevo después de su podcast y me gustó mucho el episodio. Gracias, Yomar y Stan. Basically, Nicholas said, and it's not Nicholas, it's in the chat. Nick's probably like, wait a minute, I didn't say that. There's no relation, guys. That's a strange coincidence. But this Nicholas basically was saying that episode 3 of Timey-Wimey Tea Time was his favorite, and it's the best so far. And he said, let me explain, I'd like to explain, very polite, I'd like to explain to you why I feel this way. You know, you guys gave an explanation that was very deep, um, reflective. The Doctor, Series 8, Episode 2, Into the Dalek. Honestly, I had watched the episode Into the Dalek the past week. I did not like it much. But after listening to your podcast and watching the episode again, I liked it much more. Thank you, Yomar and Stan. Awesome.
Awesome.
And you wanted to practice some of your Spanish, right, Stan?
Yeah. So I wanted to tell Nicholas, de nada, dude.
There you go. We're bilingual in here, man. But
I'm
we're
learning
gonna,
Spanish.
yeah, man. Spend enough time with me. I cook Spanish food for you. Talking a lot of Spanish around you. We'll convert you yet. Stan, if you guys look at geekyantics.net, we have a post up there on our blog where we have a photo journal. You can see Stan looking rather Latino. He's showing his Latino lover side, and that's great. But we're about to go deeper now. You guys keep asking, go deeper. We love it. Don't stop. So I'm gonna do it. Before we go deeper, we want to remind you to make sure that you subscribe to our mailing list. Email is still a thing. It's a great way for us to be able to ping you and have you receive our message, our announcements at your convenience. So wait, our newsletter wait for you in your inbox. I was supposed to send out one earlier this week, but I didn't get to because I've been traveling. But I will make it up to you guys. But go to geekyantics.net. On the upper right-hand corner, on the sidebar, you'll see a mail form where it'll ask you for your first name, last name, and your email address. Only the email address is required, but we like to at least be on a first name basis with you. That would be great. And just subscribe, and then we can send you some newsletters and let you know when there's any events like giveaways, group viewings of Doctor Who, Google Hangouts, which has been suggested as well. And yeah. Nick says stop using his government name. He doesn't like Nicholas. I'm sorry, bro. Also, leave us voicemail. We are US based, so you may want to use the country code. So it's 1-206-415-4987. Again, 1-206 or 2Z6 415-4987. Z, I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
It's always funny. Some people get annoyed when you say O instead of zero, and some people don't like
Right.
zero, they want Z. So 2Z6
Uh-huh.
415
Right.
4987. You like that?
I liked it.
And when you call us, be aware it will say Geeky Antics because PWTT is a flagship show for the Geeky Antics Network. It is production of Gang, Geeky Antics Network Global, and we're also happy to be working with All Games, but they have nothing to do with the production of this show or the creative direction. They're just generous enough to give us some of their bandwidth, and we love them for that. But whether you are old school or a new fan of Doctor Who, share your stories, share your thoughts, your musings. Let us know who your favorite doctors are, your first experiences with Doctor Who, what you love most about the show. You can talk about how sexy Stan's voice is. You can say how much you want me to speak more Spanish. This is all stuff we're seeing on YouTube. That's what I'm saying. But yeah, people love your voice, Stan.
I don't know why.
I love it too. I can't lie. But so yeah, leave some voicemail. But let's see what else we got here. So we're gonna try to cover some stuff. We're making good time. We got about 12 minutes before we finish our first half of the show. We are, you know, unsegmented, unscripted, and pretty raw. We speak from the heart, but we do put talking points in here, so we make sure that things that we thought about earlier in the week or in the day, we can capture that again. Because sometimes we say, "Hey, that's a good nugget. We got to talk about that today." So just a little behind the scenes there. But in the first half of the show, we're gonna get into season or series 8 rather, episode 3. A little bit of a recap. We do a different take on that. We talk about what we feel is most important, not just facts and figures. So we're not gonna go through the minutia of events. We're gonna talk about the things that we feel, from our perspective, is awesome. And if you guys catch some stuff that we don't catch, we'd love to hear that too. Um, then we also have a bit of a letter to Stephen Muppet, and we won't get to this week, but just to prepare you guys, because everybody has been asking for us to read some of our flash fiction, short stories, poetry. So we're gonna get into that in a kind of little creative writing corner. That will be something we'll come back to a lot, talking about creative writing, other things beyond Doctor Who. But particularly, I like to talk about some of the challenges and benefits of flash fiction because it's a very interesting format, I would say. And we'll do the live readings as well. And maybe we'll get Matt. Matt has a very good, promising voice acting career, so we can get Matt
Yes, it
Bradford.
does.
Yeah, we'll get Matt Bradford back on here. If you haven't listened to episode 2, you check him out. He's breaking into voice acting. He's narrating a book, Frequency, if you prefer, a zombie story, and maybe we'll get him to do some of that voice acting for us. And haikus, haikus. In the second half, we'll talk about some fun facts for episode 3, some bantering, which Peter Capaldi and the 12th Doctor does not like. Some of the major themes of Series 8 that we've noticed so far. And then we'll do our community interconnect where we'll share more comments and voicemail messages. Finally, if we still have time, we'll do Soft Kitty song contest rules. Play more voicemail messages, some of the entries.
Played Soft Kitty.
Oh, I know. And then beyond that, if we have time, then there will be a lot more bantering.
Yes.
So we're making good time right now. Let's jump into the official start of the first half, though. We're about to finish the first half, so yeah. Maybe we're not making good time. We got a lot of stuff here. So Series 8, the Doctor's not the Doctor, but he is. He is arguably the 12th regeneration. That's up for debate. He's no longer a floppy-haired boy toy as he was when he was portrayed by Matt Smith. The Doctor's face and body change with each generation, if you didn't know. He's a gentleman now. He has gray hair, severe eyebrows, and a tailored attire from an overpriced shop on Hyde Street that Stan likes a lot.
He's a 1%er.
He's a 1%er. So this is a doctor that supposedly makes no mistakes or less mistakes. This is a doctor that maybe fixes past mistakes. I think we've seen that already. We've seen the doctor that fixes past mistakes, but it's still not enough. There's still a lot of loose ends. And that's something
him or is it Clara?
Oh, yeah. The Clara has been more of a doctor right now than the Doctor, but there might be something there. We'll see. Will he be a dangerous doctor or a paternal, fatherly doctor, or both? Maybe something else. What is a dangerous doctor? Someone who makes mistakes, or is it someone who brings judgment upon those who revel in evil, hate, injustice, and ruthless ambition? I think it's okay to make mistakes. That doesn't keep you from being a hero. And it's dangerous where it's like you have an edge and you're scary, but you're still righteous. But then there's plain just chaotic and reckless, and we're seeing some of that right now, and it's making us cringe a bit. What do you have to say about that, Stan?
So is the Doctor really dangerous? Well, he unleashed Rusty on the Daleks, and that's going to be an unhappy thing for the Daleks, because I guess Rusty's going to be among them, killing them when they're not looking over their shoulder. Will he be a prodigal father? And I like that theme because it kind of parallels what's going on in the HBO show The Leftovers, which is about kind of a twisted, dark view of the rapture, which is this idea that before the world ends, some people will disappear. And theoretically, they get to go to heaven and miss out on all the ugliness that happens as the world ends.
No one was able to explain that show to me in such a succinct way. So what's The Leftovers about? It's about death and a police officer and a priest. Oh, thanks. That could be The Exorcist for all I know. It could be a number of shows.
Okay, so I'll tell you.
No, you broke it down already for me. I'm sold.
Well, I'll give you a little bit more. So basically, Leftovers starts after the rapture. So 2% of the world's population just disappeared into thin air, sometimes in front of people's eyes. Kind of like cars are crashing, airplanes are falling out of the sky because the captain disappeared. And the Leftovers world is a world where people are struggling to remember and forget. And they're all broken now because they don't know how to go on. What does it mean that all these people disappeared? The government's like, we don't know what happened. And meanwhile, there's this strange cult of people that wear all white, and they troll people. they troll them to make them remember what happened. And what they want people to remember is that they weren't good enough to go, which is harsh, very harsh.
Man.
Yeah. So every time like they come out, and this cult's called I forget. GR is the abbreviation. Oh, the guilty remnant. So whenever the guilty remnant goes out and does something, like for example, one time they like raided houses and took the pictures of lost family members. I mean, people get upset. They start beating these cult members. So it's kind of brutal. It's actually, the show is kind of painful and full of intense darkness.
I have to watch at least one episode before I leave together.
Yes. Watch the final, the season finale. That will be awesome.
Okay, we can do
I'll
that.
fill you in on it.
All right.
That's where we're going.
So yeah, because I don't really have much time for more shows. Doctor Who, that's pretty much my one show right now, and everything else is kind of like, okay, yeah, I'll watch it a little bit here and there. But back to what is a good father? Is it someone who provides, protects, and leads a family? You know, is the doctor a prodigal's father making his way home like police chief Garvey in Leftovers? You were telling me about that. So in a world where fathers abandon families, children, and community as they grope about darkness and search for themselves in false identities, the doctor may be an unwitting and unintended reflection of fatherhood gone wrong. It's the other side of fatherhood.
Very deep.
So he could be a paternal doctor, but he's doing it. You're doing it wrong.
Exactly.
So questions and confusion surround the doctor, but don't they always? Sometimes, usually, most of the time, there are more questions than there are answers. And that's fine, as long as they eventually get to them in a satisfying way. If they rush it, I'd rather they take the time with it than rush it.
Right.
So far in Series 8, the Doctor has had an intimate conversation with the T-Rex. He's thwarted the murderous plot of a flesh-wearing cyborg. He's toyed with the mind of a Dalek and stopped an unintended robotic plot that would have wiped out half the world. The patient that he had to deal with happened in episode 2, right?
Right.
Is a Dalek, the good Dalek. A lot of scandalous stuff going on. You have anything else to add that I may have missed?
No.
Okay, that works.
My brain didn't work for a second.
Okay. So we'll move it along then. I guess Stan had nothing to add.
Okay, I'm back to it. My brain is back on.
Yeah, see, this is what happens. This is a dangerous Stan. Hashtag the dangerous Stan. By the way, the show we're talking about, for those that are asking in the chat, it's Leftovers, where Chris Eccleston, the Ninth Doctor, the first Doctor of the 2005 Doctor Who revival series, which we have a very special place in our heart for him,
Yes, and that's one of the things. There was a couple episodes in Leftovers where I was like, I don't know where this is going. And there's a lot of pain and darkness, and I don't know if I want to continue. And then I saw Eccleston, and he did such an awesome performance. I was like, all right, I'm going to stick with this. So Eccleston is carrying Leftovers. Don't let anyone tell you different. He could have done wonders for Doctor Who if Muppet would have given him the chance.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, not to take anything away from David Tennant. Much love for him. Matt Smith took a little bit of time to get used to, but I ended up loving him. And he's a good guy off the set. Peter Capaldi has a lot of potential, and he's all about the fans. He's doing a bunch of fanfare and autographs and everything, and little chats with people off the set and in between takes. So these are wonderful people and great actors, but I would have liked to see Chris Eccleston go further, go deeper with the role of the Doctor. But I guess it can't happen now. What else you got, Stan?
So, actually, some of the problems with Clara are resolved in episode 4. But
let's not get into that.
We're not going to get into that spoiler. So we want to say that, previous to episode 4, it was very apparent that Clara wanted her boy toy back. And we're talking about Matt Smith. And she rejected um, the gentleman doctor, who was played by Capaldi. And in episode 3, her rejection kind of put the doctor into this weird situation where he's in this boyish Sonic mood where he attempts to compete with Robin Hood for her appreciation, perhaps her affections. So, in that situation, I think that Mr. Muppet missed an important opportunity. Maybe even in episode 4, he still is missing the opportunity. So I wanted to tell Mr. Muppet what he should have done. A great doctor, a manly doctor, would have taken Clara into his arms, looked deeply into her eyes, and whispered something reassuring. And I found something reassuring. It's actually spoken, written by a British Oxford professor, Henry Scott Holland, and he did that. He delivered this as a speech in 1910. It's a sermon on death, and this is what Henry Scott Holland said: "Death is nothing at all. It does not count. I've only slipped away into the next room. Nothing has happened. Everything remains exactly as it was. I am I, you are you, and the old life that we lived so fondly together is untouched, unchanged. Whatever we were to each other, that we are still. Call me by the old familiar name. Speak of me in the easy way which you always used. Put no difference into your tone. Wear no forced air, solemnity, or sorrow. Laugh, as we always laugh, at the little jokes that we enjoyed together. Play, smile, think of me, pray for me. Let my name be ever the household word that it always was. Let it be spoken without an effort, without the ghost of a shadow upon it. Life means all that it ever meant. It is the same as it ever was. There is absolute and unbroken continuity. What is this death but a negligible accident? Why should I be out of mind? Because I'm out of sight. I am but waiting for you, for an interval, somewhere very near, just around the corner. All is well. Nothing is hurt. Nothing is lost. One brief moment, and all will be as it was before.
That's beautiful, and it really brings it back. Everything comes around full circle because we just talked about reassurances as a father, providing that security. The doctor is failing at that right now, and that explains why Clara has been freaking out, slapping him,
Stepping up.
stepping up. She's like, "You're not a man right now. You're not a father. I don't know what you are. You're not the doctor. I don't know. It's just what's the word that they like to say? You're rubbish. You know, you're a rubbish doctor. What is? I'm not even gonna deal with you right now. GG."